everybody, and welcome to Dementia Chats. It is March 20, I think it's the 22nd. I see I'm a day ahead. 22nd. I got to lean on those computers again. We were just talking about that. 2016. I'm Lori LeBlanc, and I'm the host of Dementia Chats. And I'm the founder of Alzheimer's Speaks, which is an advocacy-based group that tries to bring all kinds of resources and multiple platforms to the scene to help people live as well as possible and give them as much knowledge as possible regarding the disease. I created Dementia Chats out of my respect and love for all these people living with dementia, and just all of the knowledge that they have and the insights that they share, I think is so valuable. And I thought, well, I need more people to hear this because it's helped me so much. And so that's basically why we're here, is to introduce you to some people who are truly experts in the disease. They live with it every second of every day, and they have amazing insights. And our format here is very casual. We kind of right before our meetings decide what we're going to discuss, and today we're going to be talking about getting a schedule and keeping it. How do you do that with dementia, and what kind of techniques that people use? And if we have time, we'll probably go on to talking about pets and how they also can help one another. So I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic over to Brian, and if you want to just introduce yourself and tell people a little bit about who you are and how long you've been diagnosed.
My name is Brian LeBlanc. I live in Pensacola, Florida. I am 55, and I was diagnosed in October of 2014 with early onset Alzheimer's. I had been getting lost while driving, repeating same things over and over again for a number of years. But the getting lost was the kind of the key that when I had the inquisition, which is what I call it, when I walked into the room and there was my wife and my daughter sitting there, and then the first thought in my head was, oh, I did something wrong. But it just wanted to sit down with me and talk to me about what had been going on. And I had no idea that I was getting lost. I thought that first time, or the time that I remember that I just experienced, was the first time. And my wife told me it had been happening 10 times in the last 6 months. So we knew that there was an issue. So come to find out, she was right. There was an issue. And but I tell everybody that my tagline is, I have Alzheimer's, but it doesn't have me, because I will not let this define who I am. I'm still a person who just happens to be living with. It lives right alongside of me, but it doesn't, well, it controls me sometimes, but the majority of the time I still have a handle on it.
Wonderful. Thank you for sharing. Paulan, do you want to go next?
Sure. My name is Paulan Gordon. I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. I was diagnosed with vascular dementia 4 years ago at age 57. And since that time, I spend a lot of time on the internet trying to help other people who have questions or issues that they're concerned about. I recently published a booklet. I did a TV interview. So I try to just take advantage of any opportunities I can to try to advocate for the cause.
Okay, great. And Harry, you want to go next and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Harry Urban. 12 years ago, I was diagnosed with dementia of the Alzheimer's type. It's been a long 12 years, but I created an online support group called Forget Me Not, and I also have a blog called mythoughtsondementia.com.
Okay, great. And next we'll go to Michael.
My name is Michael Ellenbogen, a.k.a. Raul. And I was diagnosed with Alzheimer's at age 49 after struggling for 10 years to get a diagnosis. And I'm now 57. I spend my time advocating for the cause.
Okay, great. And True?
My full legal name is Truthful, Loving Kindness, and my current diagnosis is mild cognitive impairment. What the neurologist says is that I've got 1 foot in each door, so that he says that should make me pretty helpful to others. And they've checked out most of the other reasons for my symptoms that are still slowly increasing. I'm very active in Dementia Mentors. I blog, thanks to the impetus from Harry. And I gather projects from other people with dementia symptoms.
Okay, great. Well, let's start our conversation today about schedules and how, since you now live with dementia, how do you stay on schedule? Has it changed for you? And Brian, I'm going to just start with you if you don't mind.
Sure. This is my friend. I literally carry it with me at all times. I don't go, literally, I don't go anywhere without it. If I am without it, I get a complete sense of anxiousness. I guess it's like Linus and his security blanket. This is my security blanket. It tells me everything what to do during the course of a day. Take medications. I'm also type 2 diabetic, so it tells me when to take my shots. It tells me when to eat. Over the last year, I've lost about 55 pounds. And it was because I was not eating. Not by choice. I was basically forgetting to eat. And my wife would ask me if I ate, and I would answer, I think I did. I think so. But there could be no way of knowing whether I did or didn't, because even my body, maybe it was trying to tell me that it was hungry, but I couldn't process that. So now I have reminders to tell me to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I have reminders to tell me where to go, when to go, how to go. Since I don't really drive except on the rare occasion, I set timers to allow me travel time to get where I need to go. So it's kind of exhausting trying to keep track of everything, especially I used to use this thing when I was of what I call normal brained. Mm-hmm. But now, with Alzheimer's, it's like I said, it's just exhausting. But it's the only thing that I know of. I mean, I have a calendar sitting right here. I have a calendar on my computer, and I have my reminders on my phone. So it's around me. But sometimes your brain doesn't process everything. So that's kind of where I am.
Okay. With taking medications and stuff, has that really helped you stay on schedule? I know you mentioned you're diabetic in terms of when we were talking earlier. Do those little reminders really help you? Stay focused to take your medications when you need to, or maybe eat when you need to?
Yes, the actual physical medications, the pills and so forth, I use a pill box. Mm-hmm. So if I wonder, did I take my medicine? I'll go to the pill box and I'll look. And if it's empty, okay. If not, I'll go ahead and take them. Problem is, I check my pill box about 5 or 6 times a day because I can't remember if I checked it previous or not. Mm-hmm. But that does help in keeping a pill box. With the shots that I take for my diabetes, I can't look at the pen and, I can look at it if I look at it today and I look at it from, on 4 days from now, I can see that there's a change. But when you take little increments of the shot, it's kind of hard to know. And if you take too much insulin, then of course your sugar drops and it's not pretty. So the pill box is good because that does. Everything else is, well, it's kind of a, and I can't think of the term I want to use, so.
Okay.
If you can fill in my blank for me, that's great.
That's okay. I've heard people having problems with pill boxes and stuff too, and just, did I take it or didn't I take it? And I guess one question I'm just wondering, does anybody have like a checklist next to their pills so that they can physically check it off, or does that just not work? So that you can go back and kind of reflect on that. True, you had a comment?
Well, that used to work for me, like so many other things. You know, everything works for a while and then doesn't work anymore. And the checklist doesn't work anymore. I have to have the box because I check it off intending on taking a pill, and something happens. The dog barks, the phone rings, and the pill is not taken. So I use both the dinger on my phone, which, you know, if I don't throw it across the room to get it to quit making noise and ignore the sound, then I will take the pill, and I have to have the boxes that I can see whether I've taken the pill or not. You know, like Brian or Harry, whoever it was that was saying, they look at their box so many times a day. Did I take it? Did I take it? I have no idea. And for me, what I do with food, because I have the same problem and have had it for quite a few years now, that hunger doesn't register. So I leave my dishes on the table.
Okay.
Of course, I don't know whether I just ate, 5 minutes ago, or whether it was 3 hours, and I have to eat every 2 hours. So the problem then is knowing how long ago it was, but that if there's no dirty dishes on the table, then obviously I haven't eaten. So that works for the first bit. Okay.
Until you think you might have cleaned them off already or something. Like you said.
No, you don't clean them off.
Or walked into the kitchen and said, "Who left this plate on the table?"
Yeah, my husband does that.
Paulan, you had a comment?
Well, I rely on two things pretty much. I rely on my calendar. I have a big calendar that has a whole page for each day. And that way I put all my notes of discussions I have or anything I need to remember on the calendar. The only problem is I've been finding myself, I see these notes or these phone numbers, and I can't remember why I wrote them down. So now I have to get a little more specific when I make notes so I can remember what it was really all about. I also use the pill boxes, but I've been having a little trouble with that. Two things with that. I also need an inhaler. So the inhaler doesn't work with the pill box, of course. So I'm not really sure about that, if I've taken it or not. I just try to do the best I can with it, but I do need a better system. The pill boxes, I thought I was doing well with those. There's one for each day that has morning, noon, night, and all of that. But the other day I found out, I looked, and I had taken the wrong one. I don't always put it back away. And I pulled out another one, and it looked like I hadn't taken the medicine, so I wound up taking it twice that day. So it's a real challenge. It really is. And I think that I do need to have maybe a checklist.
Okay. Yeah, it does get tricky with this stuff. Michael, what do you use for keeping yourself on track? Do you use phone and computer and calendar as well, or?
First of all, I do not have a phone, believe it or not. I do use my computer for like all my meetings and things like that, and I use Outlook. For me, that's a real lifesaver. If it wasn't for having that tool, I probably would not be able to function. As far as my drugs go, I'm kind of lucky because my wife takes care of all that. And I know that every time I eat breakfast, they're standing right there next to where I eat breakfast, so I'd have to take my pills in the morning. The problems there is, do I take the morning or night? Sometimes I take the wrong ones. You know, but hey, unfortunately, you know, that goes with the territory. And then at night, I usually take them at night. Now, every once in a while, my wife will come home and say, hey, you forgot to take them. So then I end up taking them. There is one pill that's critical for me that I have to take in the afternoon, like 3:30, which is a real pain. But we finally found a way for that on my wife's tablet. She's got a reminder, just like the people are using her iPod for. So the alarm goes off at 3:30 to remind me to take that pill, so I don't forget that. But I probably could use some better tools. I mean, if I probably had, I guess, telephone, I probably would take more advantage of that. I just can't justify having one at this point in time.
Okay. Harry, how about you?
I was once on a schedule, but I am no longer capable of being on a schedule because my day is, I never know what my day is going to be like. So it's very hard for me to be on a schedule. I have to rely on somebody else to keep me on schedule. I can't plan ahead or anything like that anymore. It's just, I just can't do it anymore. As far as my medication, I take a handful of medication in the morning and the evening, but like Michael said, my wife, she makes sure of that because I'm no longer capable of determining if I took it or not. You know, it's very hard for me to say, yeah, I took it when I really did. So that part of my life, I sort of gave up. That I accepted the fact that somebody's going to have to keep me on my routine, even though I am on a routine. It's not because I am keeping myself on that routine, but somebody else is helping me stay on that routine.
Okay. You know, it's interesting to hear you guys talk about this stuff because what comes to mind for me is how important our routines are and how I think we as individuals don't, you know, we kind of take them for granted. But, you know, when illness hits, you know, when a cognitive illness hits, how incredibly important they are to all of us. And, you know, how do you set new routines or do them in different ways to still meet your needs when memory is fading or kind of waning? I mean, it might work fine one day and not so much the next, or even, you know, a half an hour from now. I would think that's got to get frustrating at times. How do you deal with that, or is it not frustrating? True, go ahead.
I've been having a problem with the routine for washing my hair because I don't know whether I've done the shampoo, whether I've done the conditioner, whether I've rinsed my hair. And for a long time, I could use alarm type things even for that. But now I can't anymore. And so I was trying to set up the routine that the soap and the conditioner go on one side of the tub when I get in the bathtub, and then as I use them, transfer them to the other side. And at least that makes it so that I don't wash my hair 3 times. It just gets 1 or 2, you know, because I may forget to move it the first time, but then I will when I say to myself, oh, well, I must not have done it yet, I'll move it and shampoo. And at least I've only done it twice instead of, 3, 4, 5 times.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't take care of the problem, but it sure helps.
Okay. How about others with this process? Michael, do you get frustrated at all in terms of, what you're using kind of for prompts and routine?
Yeah, I do. And to be honest with you, I mean, it's pretty much the same throughout the day with all other things, not just that. But I just don't let it get to me anymore. It's frustrating knowing, I can relate where you go in the bath and you take a bath and then you don't remember after you get in there, did you just soap up? And I mean, it's like, how can you not remember a few minutes ago whether you soaped up or not? It's like, so it's frustrating, but what do you can't let it get to you. I guess I realize it's going to be a fact of life, and it's going to be frustrating, but I try not to let it get to me. And I know it's going to get to a point where I'm going to rely on others to help me, because to be honest with you, I think if you have too many things reminding you, that becomes a pain in the you-know-what, too. And, I used to have, in my present job, or my past job, should I say, I managed a network. And in that network, we had to monitor the whole entire system for the whole bank. And we had all kind of bells and whistles and alarms all set up for all kind of things that trigger things. Well, if we had too many of those bells and whistles, we didn't pay attention to it.
Mm-hmm.
We had to eliminate all that stuff and really home in on the things that were important. And I see that the same as doing the things regularly every day. If you have too much of them, you eventually don't pay attention to it. And it's important to home in on just the key important ones. Well, how do you start to deciding what's important and what's not? I mean, to me, eating is a very important thing, as he suggested. I mean, I haven't had to run into that. In fact, to be honest with you, I wish I would forget to eat a little bit because I could use to lose some weight off. But the bottom line is you get to a point that you have too many reminders, and that in itself is a problem.
Mm-hmm. Harry, what are your thoughts on Michael's comments?
Well, I think we become too regimented with ourselves. We have to be on a schedule. We have to do this at this time. We get concerned if we wear white after Labor Day or Memorial Day. Things like that. I think that now I've come to a point where those things don't bother me anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't let them bother me anymore. If I forgot to brush my hair in the morning, guess what? The world doesn't. Yes, I do have hair. The world doesn't come to an end, and I don't let it upset the apple cart. Now, there's certain things that has to be done in my life, and like I said, I have someone that makes sure that I do them. But anything else, I just go with the flow. It doesn't matter to me. And I think more people has to learn not to be so regimented about their life. You don't have to do something at exactly at 2 o'clock. If it's 5 after 2, it's still okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's hard for us to let go when that structure has been so important all of our life. It's we've been judged on our structure and how we behave and how we look, and it's a big thing to kind of go casual and go with the flow. But boy, for me personally, I found it reduces a lot of stress when I can get myself to go there. Because you stress out over a lot of stuff that really isn't necessary. And, one of the things we all know with this disease is stress is not your friend. It really complicates things very, very quickly. So I think that that's a good mode to go under. Yet, when you've got critical things like taking medications or eating so that it doesn't affect your health, how you can't be too casual either, because that can really put people in a tailspin as well. But, prioritizing what's really important. And even when, you were talking, Drew, about the shower, well, I might only wash my hair twice instead of 3 or 4 times, and you guys laughed at that. But it's true. It's like you can beat yourself up and get all mad over it, or you can go, what, I'm just extra clean today, and go with the flow with that.
Pretty hair.
Yeah. So, Paulan, what are your thoughts? Anything?
I think there are so many things that we forget all day long. I mean, it's an ongoing process. It's not just medicine. It's not just eating. It's so many things. One of the things that was difficult for me is my husband retired not too long ago, and he would leave the house and go somewhere, and I would have no idea, no recall of where he went, how long he'd be gone, or anything along those lines. So I started a whiteboard system where he writes on the whiteboard, I'm going here, I'll be home around then, because I would get frantic and think, where is he? When is he coming home?
Yeah, me too. I had a system that worked for a while that he would say, okay, I'm going to the hardware store, and I would find it on on the card thing that we've got different stuff written here, and put it in front of me. But then it started being, he would tell me, and I would be distracted, and I'd say, yeah. And the phone would ring for him, and I would answer it and say, oh, let me look. He's not here. I don't have any idea how long he's been gone or when he's coming home. It might be just a few minutes, and it might not be until 10 o'clock at night. So we did the same thing, put a chalkboard at the door, and he kind of clocks out with where he's going, so that I have an idea how long it'll take.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let's see. Brian, was there anything that you wanted to add on what you've heard so far?
Yeah, I have, directly above me, my daughter puts her schedule when she goes to school. She's a college student, and when she would leave, if I didn't know, I know when my wife leaves for work, she's at work. I still know that. I know when my son leaves for school, he's in high school, I know he's gone for the day. But Ashton comes and goes. So she put up here on a whiteboard of her school schedule, because she would walk in the door at a strange time, and it would like startle me. It's like, what are you doing home? Well, you're supposed to be in school. But so she put that up there so that I wouldn't have that. I would have her schedule to be aware of what time she comes in. I hear the people with stories about bathing and so forth. My wife asked me one day when the last time it was that I took a bath, and the first question that I had to her was, "What, do I stink? Do I smell?" And she says, "No." She goes, "But do you know? I'm just asking you a question. Do you know?" I said, "No, I don't." And she goes, "Well, it was about 4 days ago." And she says, "Because your same towel is still hanging up in the bathroom." And it's like, oh, so there again, yet another reminder in my phone. Take a bath. When you have Alzheimer's, the first thing to go is your short-term memory. You don't remember the things that are most recent. But I think one of the curses is to have, it's a double-sided sword, to have your long-term memory, because your long-term memory is going to allow you to remember when I worked, I remembered everything. Now I'm going back 10, 20 years. I used to remember everything. I would come in, I'd sit at my desk. I had these routines that I followed. I didn't have to have a schedule to tell me what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. I just did it. That is taken away from us because of the short-term memory issue, and that is I don't know. That has a dramatic effect on me, in that I can't remember. But you kind of take it, digest it, and try to make sense of it. And when all else fails, I put it in my phone. So.
Yeah. Linda here is saying that she finds that her husband Lee doesn't have a clue when he's taking a shower or not, and she says she'll let him go for a few days, during the winter months, before reminding him again. And it's that balance of being respectful, with people, and making sure that they're comfortable, and yet that things are still getting done that needs to get done. And it can be, I'm sure, a fine line in terms of how that's addressed. Paulan, do you ever find yourself where maybe you've missed doing something and your husband points your attention to that?
Well, I don't know that my husband points the attention out. He tries to leave me alone and go on my own as much. But as we were talking about the bathing and everything, the things that have happened to me is I only shave one leg. I forget to shave the other leg, and I'll come out, oh no. But I've talked to a lot of people who have the same problem, or shaving their face, where they only shave half their face for guys. And so it must be a common problem. I don't know what the solution is. I'm not sure what the solution is to it, though.
Mm-hmm.
I do. Grow a beard. It's very easy.
Yeah. Harry, you're being kind of quiet.
Yeah, I'm learning. With me, now when Hazel goes to work, she's in the tax season now, so she's away. But she sets out my clothes for me to wear, because if I would pick out my own clothes, oh God, I'd be pretty. I'd be so mixed. But what she does is she lays out my clothes, and that's my reminder to take my shower. And then when she comes home, if my clothes are still laying on the bed, then she knows that hey. But I mean, it hasn't happened yet. But as far as anything else, like I said, we don't put a lot of importance in that kind of stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Because I just can't handle it anymore. If I would worry about when Hazel's coming home, I would go crazy. Because I couldn't. If she'd be 5 minutes late, oh my God, what happened? Things like that. So I don't think that way anymore.
Mm-hmm. True. Go ahead.
One problem that I had actually was mopping the floor. Believe it or not, I mopped the floor when I couldn't see the difference between the changing light, in my eyes. I couldn't see the difference between what I had mopped and what I didn't. My husband came back 5 hours later. I was still mopping the floor. I had been mopping the floor for 5 hours because I couldn't tell what I'd done and what I hadn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so trying to achieve tasks with your memory that shot can be a real problem.
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what I'm saying, though, too. I don't let things like that control my life. I could get very upset if I forgot to get the mail.
Mm-hmm.
It could really upset me for the day. Things like that. Now we have a wet roller, and even though it's short haired, a short haired dog, there is a lot of dog hair with that dog. And one of my one of my things to do, let's say, is my office here to clean up the dog hair, because me and the dog spends most of her time here. And sometimes there's a lot of black hair in the corner. But you know, that stuff doesn't bother us anymore.
Yeah, I go through today trying not to get frustrated with things. I've been having an issue with my cable, and I wanted to make sure that it wasn't me imagining these things. But you know, there was a lot of things going wrong with the picture. The audio was going in and out. The cable you know, they know me by my first name because I call very often. But I think, and they were just out here this morning fixing another issue, which was an issue. I wasn't imagining it, thank goodness. But you know, different things, and I understand what everybody's saying about frustration, because you know, earlier we were talking about how it's extremely exhausting being us, you know, because of trying to remember what we forgot, or trying to remember if we forgot, trying to make lists. And then when you make the list, are you checking something that you didn't do? You know, I'll go from one room to another, and by the time I get to the next room, number one, I won't remember what I'm there for, but number two, I don't know what I'm doing in that room. So I'll come back to and I must walk like 5 miles inside of my house every day because of the forgetfulness. So it's an exhausting process, but I'm learning. I don't get as frustrated as I used to. In the beginning I did, but I'm learning, I think, to live with it, to accept it. And that's hard. That's hard to do, to come to the acceptance of it all. Mm-hmm. But you have a choice. You know, what do you do? Are you going to stay aggravated and angry all the time? Or are you just going to try to live alongside this disease?
I noticed when I was going through and assigning topics for things that Harry wrote last month before last, acceptance. Yeah. I said 20 times that the different things that he wrote during that 30 days was on acceptance of symptoms, acceptance of your diagnosis. What a key that is. What a terrific key it is.
Does it really matter if you forgot something?
Right.
It upsets a lot of people when they forget something, but when you think about it, does it really matter? And when you analyze it, the answer is no, it doesn't matter. So why get upset about it?
Oh, well, let's see. For me, my husband came home and the gas burner on the stove had been going since 7 a.m. and it was 7 p.m. and the fire was flaming about that high on the stove. Had just happy little fire going the whole time. That the third time that happened in a month, a lot of things changed. One of which is I hardly ever cook.
Yeah, because that's a very dangerous situation.
Yeah.
I had to start putting a timer. I put the timer on. If I turned on the stove and was walking away, I always put the timer on for 2 minutes, something, you know, to remind me to come back. Because I had the same thing going on where I was turning on the stove, walk away, totally forget that I was cooking anything.
Yeah, that worked for about 6 months.
And the whole acceptance thing, I get that, which is why I said that I'm gonna on my next blog entry is gonna be my apology tour, because you know I apologize an awful lot to my wife, to my kids, to my dog. You know, it's because you and I think that's to me, that's the hardest thing to accept, is that I sometimes take my frustrations and my anger out, and it's not directed at them, but they see it and they feel it. And I can't do that, because they don't deserve that. These three people that I live with, I call my wife my hero, because I mean, it was hard enough to live with me before, and now, you know, now everything's accentuated. And I used to tell her, I said, I'm not mad. I said, I just get passionate about things. And she goes, yeah, passionate. Yeah, okay. So she never did get that, but I guess I use that as an excuse. But you know, the acceptance part, and it's amazing, because I know I said that I don't know if my learning curve is over or not, but I've learned to accept a lot of things now. And one of those things is, like Harry said, is to try to you know, don't worry about the small things. I mean, if you get something, it's going to depend upon how big that forgetful thing is.
And one of my things is, it's hard to accept that when I mess up, it very often injures in some way others. That's where the apology stuff is really hard. It's not that, I don't think I very often at all take it out on others, purposely or not purposely. I take it out more internally. But the problem is that my forgetting things or messing up can injure, or in some way make life much harder for those that are in the home with me. Well, like the day that discovered the baby was outside, I had no idea. At any rate, things like that can be a very big deal, and hard time accepting that, yes, it is your fault. It's not something you tried to do, and things like that happening over and over is hard to accept in yourself.
And that's part of why I don't drive anymore, because I couldn't, you know, I used to love to drive. I love to drive. But the thing is that I was not feeling confident any longer. And I told Shannon, I said, if I go off somewhere and I'm driving and I get into an accident and I hurt someone, I would never be able to forgive myself for that. I really wouldn't. And if I had somebody in the vehicle with me and I hurt them, you know, so that part of the acceptance factor, I have accepted that I don't drive, you know, on a constant basis. I am going to have to drive today, because there's no other way for me to do what I have to do, and I'm okay with that, because it's not a long distance that I'm going to do that. But that part of the acceptance I can accept, because I understand how you feel. True, is that when you are hurting or could cause harm to another person, to me that's unacceptable.
Yeah, and that's a scary thing, and you know, and a very hard decision. The whole driving,
very much so,
is not an easy topic at all. Michael, is there anything that you want to add at all?
No, I think they pretty much covered it. I think that's a very important factor, to accept all this and not beat yourself up. That's easier said than done, of course. But I think that is really a real key to trying to continue to live with this disease. And as far as learning something, I think we're always going to continue to learn with this disease all the way to the end. We're going to have to constantly learn something new, because things are always going to be changing, and we're going to have to try to figure out ways around it. Not that we're always going to have an answer for it, but we're always going to try to seek an answer for it.
Yeah. Now, one question Linda had made was, she said she just really has a hard time, maybe you guys will have some suggestions, of getting her husband to shave. You know, it's just not something that he likes to do, or to, you know, trim his facial hair. She said he just fights constantly. I remember my dad, and though he didn't have, it wasn't term dementia, but he did have brain cancer. But, you know, towards the end there, I mean, that was just something he hated to do. He just hated to do that. And I don't know if it's just stiff and it hurts, or, you know, any suggestions? Harry?
Number one, would you let somebody with dementia play with the razor blade? Okay, now, so you have to be smart about this. If you're trying to force somebody to shave, are you putting them in danger of cutting themselves? Now, yes, there's razors and things like that, but how important is it? I'm like Brian. I quit shaving and started growing a beard because I got tired of drawing blood. You know, now I'm on blood thinners, so if I'm shaving and if I cut myself, I got a problem.
Yeah.
So
now, I mean, that's not a big thing in my life.
Yeah, Linda said that her son-in-law is a barber, so she'll bring him in there. And I know with my dad, we used an electric razor, and Dad would always like to clean it, and but getting it back together got really difficult, you know. And then I wasn't familiar with that, so then I really had to learn how to do that as well, so that there wasn't you know, a cut or anything with it. Michael, you had a comment?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, you know, I would highly recommend to go to an electric shaver once you get to that point. That's what I use now. And while they're not as good as shaving, there are some that are fabulous, and I happen to have one. But again, I think it's a reminder that the person needs to help the person and guide them on a daily basis with it, rather than come out and say it after so many days when it's already become an issue. I think that's part of the problem. It has to be a joint effort in discussing the issue of an ongoing maintenance, rather than suddenly coming up and say, well, it's been so many days now and you look this way. So I think you have to have the dialogue ongoing rather than when the issue arises.
True.
I think another thing can be, since she mentioned at a barber, going somewhere else to do it, it could be none of the standard things, but the issue of in public, the sound, the music going on, the people moving around, things like that have a terrible impact on me, make it so that I don't want to go places. And Lee could be having a problem with other things that he doesn't recognize, and so that you have to think of the possibilities of other things being the issue, rather than maybe even the not textual, but maybe not a problem with the feeling, but the sounds going on in the area being more of a problem than any of the other issues.
Yeah. Well, and I think, you know, Michael's point of addressing it on a regular basis, because sometimes I think when we let it go, I mean, when it comes to shaving, then there's more there. I mean, it's kind of like plucking your eyebrows. You know, if you don't do it all the time, it really hurts when you go back and start doing it, you know. And so I think some of that stuff has to be taken into consideration. And then, like Harry and Brian, you know, they've grown beards. And you know, maybe that's a good way, you know, a change for people to be able to deal with it as well. Go ahead, Brian.
In my defense, I've had a beard since I was like 20 years old.
Okay.
So I didn't grow it just because I didn't want to shave. I've had the beard, but you know, I trim my beard like once a week, because I just can't stand for it to be, wild looking. That's just something that I don't even think about it. It's a routine. Now, sometimes I might do it more than once a week because I forget. Yeah, I'll look at it and I'll say, oh, there's a straight hair somewhere, and I'll just go ahead and do the whole thing. But as far as, shaving under the neck and so forth, I still use a razor. But, it's one of those, it's kind of hard to cut yourself with these nowadays because of the safety portion of it. It's not like you're shaving with a straight razor or anything like that. But I also have an electric razor. And sometimes I will use that. It depends upon my mood and what I feel like doing.
Well, see, that's part of the problem is Lee lets it go to where we actually call him Grizzly Adams. And when we take him, usually we've got my grandkids every weekend, and my son-in-law, like I said, is a barber, so he does it right at the house for him.
Oh, that's good.
Familiar surroundings. There's nothing else going on, but he just Sunday. Philip told him, he said, "Come on, Lee, I'm going to do Cameron's hair and let's get you cleaned up." And he said, nope, and walked out of the house.
Oh, well, Linda, you've seen Guy. It's terrible getting Guy to get his beard trimmed. Yes, he looks like Grizzly Adams on a regular basis. and I don't recognize him when he does that. And it has to get to where I will tell him, I do not recognize you. You've got to get your beard trimmed. And about the third time, he'll do it. But it is terrible. And he doesn't have it.
Well, I finally told Lee if he didn't trim his, I wasn't giving him any more kisses because I was tired of getting the hair in my mouth. He finally did it.
Well, and that's a whole another point, True, that you bring up is the difference in recognition. So with others, looking different can definitely cause some problems in terms of who are they when we change our looks and stuff. So I think that's important for people to remember too. I know for me, even just if I have my glasses on, if I have them up, if I take them off, I have all different kinds of looks in 2 seconds. And, I'm getting old, my eyes are old, I need my glasses, but then I wear different types of glasses too. And that I know has thrown people for a loop too, saying you don't look like you, and I'm like, which me? I'm Gemini, I'm multi-personality. But I think we have to be aware of that too, that can really cause people some confusion. That. Any other tricks for schedules and staying on schedule that we want to mention? We've got about 7 minutes left. Gary?
One thing I'd like to bring up, we talked about apologizing, and I don't understand why so many of us feel that we have to apologize for the person we are becoming. There's no need to apologize for that. It's not us that are getting angry. It's not us that are getting hard to deal with. It's the disease that is doing it. It's not us. So I don't feel there's a need to apologize for what I do. Now, if you're obnoxious and always were obnoxious, then there's no hope for you. So, you're always going to be obnoxious. But if I say something wrong, if I forget something, there's no need for me to apologize. But we always feel that we have to. Oh, I'm sorry I did that. And we know we can't. It's not because we wanted to.
Well, I understand what you're saying about it's the disease that causes this. It's not us. you know, my wife and kids, they basically take care of me. You know, we never did like the term caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
And the Alzheimer's Association uses care partner because of the fact that they are the partners with us along this journey. However, I guess it's in my DNA. I guess it's human nature that if you become irritated, I have a habit of sometimes throwing things. I threw my phone down one time on the floor of the car, and that's the last time that I did that because my wife told me, she says, if you throw your phone one more time and it breaks, you're not getting another one. That stuck with me because without my phone, I'm lost. So there are certain things that stick. But the aggressive behavior that we sometimes get is that, I don't know, I guess the apologies just come automatic. I understand, and even my wife tells me, she says, you don't have to apologize. I understand. But, I mean, I hold her in the highest regard because that's why I tell her, you know, she's my hero because of what she does and her understanding. But it's just, it's my human nature to just say, I'm sorry for what I've done. I'm sorry for what I said. I didn't mean it. And everybody is just so forgiving. And I don't know. I understand what you're saying, Harry.
What I interpret that is, Brian, though, is you want to be the way you always have been.
Yes.
Kind and courteous. And after 12 years, I'm not that person anymore.
Right. I'll probably get to that.
Yeah.
I'll probably get to that. I'm still new in, you know, only a year and a half in, so.
I think what we're talking a lot about is acceptance versus not acceptance of these issues or these deficits we develop. And I think that it's very important to realize that as we go through this process, every time we lose a little piece of ability, an ability, I think we go through a grieving process. And I think we need to recognize that we're going through a grieving process because that's the only way we're going to get to acceptance. You know, when you agree, when you have a loss, first you deny it. You know, oh, there's nothing wrong with me. I can drive. There's no problem. Then you get into a bargaining. Well, I can drive a couple streets away, or I could drive a couple blocks, you know, and you start bargaining with that issue. And then you finally have to get to a point to acceptance and say, no, I can't do that anymore. And it's okay. And I don't need to apologize to anybody. You know, I've accepted that this is now a new part of my life.
As long as I am still able to recognize that when I've messed up, it is negatively affecting those around me.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it is more positive on our relationship if I can apologize. Whether it's caused from something conscious or not, I think the important thing is the relationship. And as long as I have the power to recognize it and address it, I will.
But if you recognize the fact that you're hurting somebody, you also have to have the ability to control that so you don't do it in the beginning. That's my philosophy.
It's kind of hard to do sometimes, though.
Yeah.
Well, good conversation here. I'm just going to ask everybody one last time if there's anything else they want to add. Our hours is almost up. So, Brian, any last comments?
Spring is not coming fast enough.
What's that?
Spring is not coming fast enough.
I just want to say something off topic, but this is also one of my care partners right here. He has done wonderful things for me. He's my constant companion, and he knows when I'm in a bad mood and he comforts me and understands me. So I highly recommend. I know Harry has a dog. I know Michael is getting a dog. Whether it's a dog or a cat, pets are wonderful. Pets are intuitive, and they really, really do make a difference.
Good, thank you. Paulan, any last comment?
No, I think I'm done.
Okay, how about you, True? You're good? Michael?
Nothing here.
And Harry, you were looking for spring. We're supposed to be getting dumped on with snow.
Well, you know, they were predicting 3 to 5 inches of snow, and we didn't get any. So that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, they're talking 6 to 12 inches, but they keep talking about the curve line here in Minnesota, so they're kind of non-committal. Well,
I'm in Florida right now. It's a beautiful, sunny 60 degrees, so, you know.
If I was there, I think I'd throw that phone against the wall.
That's aggressive behavior, and you would have to apologize for that.
Well, thank you all, and I look forward to talking with you guys next time. Again, you know, we do these on the 2nd and the 4th Tuesday of the month, and I did set up the links so that they're the same. I had to do 2 separate ones. One is for the 2nd, one is for the 4th. But they are posted on the website on Alzheimer's Speaks. I'll be putting those in the chat room as well for Dementia Chats. So they're a little bit easier for people to access as well. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate all your insights. You guys are amazing. So have a great week. Bye now.
You too.
Bye-bye.